Hi, I'm Michael from Performance Revolution, and in this video I'm going to share with you my top 10 carb sources for lean body composition and my rapid fire reasoning as to why I chose these. If you're unsure about carbohydrates and what you need to consider when eating them, then make sure you watch this video in its entirety so you can discover which carbs should have their place in your diet and how. Now stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Starting off at number 10 on the top 10 carb sources list, we have sweet potato. Sweet potato is a starchy but lower GI variety of potato that is packed with vitamin A and C, making it great for your immune system. Steaming and boiling sweet potato is the best way to prepare this food. Baking, roasting and frying can raise its glycemic index somewhat. Whole grain breads and pastas are next on the list. Whole grain breads and pastas supply far more vitamins and minerals than their more processed counterparts, particularly manganese, selenium, copper and phosphorus. Whole grains also have a higher fiber content, making them much more filling than their processed alternatives. Whole grain pasta comes in most of the same varieties as processed pasta, while whole grain breads come in many similar varieties such as rye breads, bagels, muffins, tortillas, wraps and others. The main rule of thumb when looking for any whole grain bread or pasta sauce is to look for 100% whole grain products. Beans come in next on the list at number 8. Not only are beans an excellent source of carbohydrates with plenty of fiber, they're also a rich source of plant protein and include many different vitamins and minerals. Next up at number 7, we have low GI rice. Rice is a very versatile carb source and thus a staple food around the world. However, getting the right type of rice in your diet is the key for having this food work for you and not against you. My personal favourites are Dungara, basmati and brown rice. Legumes are next on the list at number 6. Legumes such as chickpeas, lentils and peas are not only an excellent source of low GI fibrous carbs, they're also a great source of plant protein. Whole grain cereals come in at number 5 on the list. Whole grain cereals such as barley, millet and buckwheat contain high amounts of manganese, magnesium, copper, iron and B vitamins. Next up at number 4 we have fruit. Apart from providing a decent amount of carbohydrates and energy, most servings of fruit offer an array of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants and various phytonutrients that are hard to find anywhere else. Fruit is either advertised as the best food group in the universe or demonized as a sugar-laden food that adds kilos of body fat to your frame. Both of these conclusions are wrong, however, and it's an issue of quantity when it comes to fruit. Yes, fruit sugar or fructose can have negative effects on body fat and health in general when you eat large amounts of it. However, 2 to 3 servings of fruit per day for the average person will not make them fat or cause health issues. When it comes to fruit, mix up your colours and consume a variety. Some good choices include apples, bananas, citrus fruits, berry varieties, peaches, nectarines, apricots and pears to name a few. Low GI fruits are generally better if you're trying to get leaner. Dried fruits like raisins and dates are more sugary and are better consumed after intense workouts. Coming in at 3rd on the list is quinoa. It's high in fiber, loaded with antioxidants and minerals, and is part of a very small list of plant sources that include complete proteins. Not only is it a good source of carbohydrates, it also contains a decent amount of iron, magnesium, phosphorus and zinc. Quinoa is a great substitute for rice and can also be added to salads, soups and stews. Oats make number 2 on the list. Oats are an excellent source of both soluble and insoluble fiber. They're also loaded with antioxidants and important vitamins and minerals, especially vitamin B1 and manganese. Just like with most foods, when it comes to oats, the less processed it is, the better. For this reason, look for steel cut or rolled oat varieties where you can. And finally, at the top of my list at number 1 is vegetables. Although vegetables are relatively low in macronutrient content and carbohydrates, they're absolutely loaded with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients, and literally hundreds of other compounds. A good rule of thumb is to always put colour in your meals. The more deeply coloured the vegetables are, generally the more nutrient dense they are. Some of the best nutrient-rich, fibrous vegetable choices include spinach, kale, carrots, broccoli, parsnips, beetroot, asparagus, mushrooms, cauliflower, capsicum, and pumpkin varieties to name a few. Now, a few things you should be mindful of when it comes to this list. Firstly, you may have noticed that these sources I've chosen are generally all higher in fiber and minimally processed. This not only makes these foods more suited for minimizing excessive body fat, but it also makes them a far better longer-term health option. Secondly, unlike my other 2 videos on the top 10 protein and fat sources, which you can find links for in the description to this video, you'll notice that in this top 10 carb sources video that I've not mentioned any essential forms of carbohydrates. And this is because there is no such thing. Although your body runs best on an intake of some carbs in the diet, In order to survive, your body can make its own carbohydrates from protein and other non-carbohydrate substrates if it needs to. And thirdly, you'll also have noticed that GI or glycemic index has come up a lot in this video. The glycemic index of a food is an important factor in deciding whether or not you should include it in your diet on a regular basis. In simple terms, the GI is an indication of the insulin response you'll get when you eat a particular carbohydrate. If a food is high GI, it'll raise your blood sugar level. This causes the hormone insulin to be released to lower your blood sugar. This then results in low blood sugar shortly after, but your body senses this and responds by sending out the hunger signal from your brain to tell you that you're hungry again. Not surprisingly, this leads to a lot of excess fat gain for people who are consuming too many high GI foods in high quantities. On the other hand, regularly eating low to moderate GI carbs, like the ones recommended in this video, keeps your blood sugar levels steadier and helps you manage your insulin a lot better. This not only helps if you're trying to cut excess fat, but it also helps you trying to add new muscle weight without adding a great deal of body fat in the process. Another thing about GI is that I did mention before that it was about too many high GI foods in higher quantities that leads to fat gain and health problems. You see, GI only tells you how fast a carbohydrate is broken down into glucose, but it doesn't tell you how much of that carbohydrate is present in a particular serving of food. This is where the GL or the glycemic load comes into the picture. You'll only experience heightened blood sugar and an insulin response if a high GI food is consumed in a high enough quantity or load. Therefore, you shouldn't worry about eating a high GI food that has a low glycemic load like carrots, unless you intend to eat a whole bag full of them in one sitting. That concludes this video on my top 10 carb sources for lean body composition. If you get most of your carbs from this list, you'll be leaner in the long run, and you won't gain excessive body fat when you're trying to build muscle mass. There will be crossover structurally in the types of foods I've listed. However, I've tried to list these carbs in the manner you actually consume them and in ways you'll remember them better. Yes, there are other good carb sources out there, and which ones you require and in what quantities will heavily depend on you as an individual and your goals. I've tried to keep this video concise by giving you my top 10. If you like, feel free to leave a comment with your questions or other great sources of carbs that you consume. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and before you go, be sure to read the description and let me know what other topics you'd like to see covered in the future. If you want to keep up to date with the latest content, simply subscribe to the Performance Revolution channel so you don't miss any of our future training, nutrition, and information videos. Thanks, and see you next time.